All right, I'm real excited to check this out. This is Marty Mcfly, Back to the Future by NECA. This guy is friggin' awesome. Now, I love stuff, collectibles from movies, and I think I can say with some decent accuracy that Back to the Future was a movie I watched until the VHS tape wore out when I was younger. This is one of those old classics for me that was fresh in its time when I was little that I never get sick of rewatching. So we're going to cut this open, we're going to rip Marty out, and we're going to see how well NECA did with the likeness and the articulation for Marty Mcfly. All right. Show off the clamshell. No, not the clamshell. The bubble. What is this thing called? It doesn't matter. You got the VHS camcorder. Iconic. This book bag. You got three alternate hands. One looks like it has a guitar pick. Maybe sloppily painted in there. Can you see it? The glare is kind of getting out of control. Not the glare, the blur. You got his skateboard. And then a little guitar. And then Marty with crooked glasses. I'll straighten those out. Let's get him out. Here he is. I wish I remembered or knew I was going to review this. I would have hunted down my camcorder that McFarlane Toys made. It came with the Stranger Things figures. It's bigger than this, definitely, if I remember right. But it's kind of the same color, red and black. I wonder if that was a common... Well, I guess if they were basing it off of Back to the Future as a Easter egg. Okay, his head just popped right off. Let's hope that's not a constant. Yes, it is. It's a constant problem, and that's because of his vest popping off in the back. All right, let's take a look at it with some of the light on him. He looks kind of pale because the light is really bouncing on him, on his face. But what do you think? The hair is sculpted nicely. The paintwork is good. The vest, just having a Marty figure, he looks better in hand. Let me see if we can get a better, without the camera just blinding or making his face look so pale. He actually looks pretty good. All right, so this is soft, pliable material. You see his suspenders under there. Yo, Marty Mcfly. This looks pretty freaking good. I gotta give him props. This looks really good. Now, NECA, I heard about them years ago, maybe 7 years ago, and I heard about them through the Predator figures, and I thought they made a good Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I thought Sylvester Stallone figures, the Alien Ripley from years ago, looked terrible. So when I looked into them, their human figures were embarrassing, in my opinion. And their monsters were incredible, though. So I started getting their monsters, and I always avoided their human figures. But I got to tell you, they are getting better and better with their Alien, their Predator, their movie line, their horror lines. They are getting incredible. His arms are really stiff to bend. I'm going to heat him up quickly. A little trick, you heat him up with a blow dryer, and he's a lot more flexible. This head does not want to stay on, though. When you try to lift it up some, it just hits that and just pops right off. So let's pop on this head, and I'll show you. Wow, that head's actually, it's got some fight to it. Wait, what is that? All right, there's something wrong here. This head does not want to go on. It's got this gap here, and I mean, I'm pushing. I feel like I'm going to break the thing. I'm going to warm this up. I'm going to straighten those glasses out. See those glasses? They crooked AF. He looks drunk. So I'm going to straighten Marty out. We're going to take a look at him. This figure is freaking incredible, though, already. The nostalgia from this figure is nuts, man. This is nuts. I would imagine you can go and do a little swoosh there if you wanted. A little custom, a little modding. But yeah, this is nuts. This is double. This thing is friggin' awesome. We'll look at his accessories before I warm him up. Madrid. You got the hand with the pick. Paint's kind of sloppy. Actually, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. A little slopped. You got a hand for playing the guitar, it looks like. Let me see. This hand looks to be for here. See the fingers? And then this hand would be for the pick I just showed you. And here's the guitar. Is this the exact one from that scene in the beginning? I'm assuming it is, because why would they not make it accurate? And here's his book bag. And it's molded, I'm assuming, to be slung over his shoulder and just kind of hang there. It just dangles there. That's cool. And then here's the camcorder. Yo. They did a good job with that. All right, you hit it with a blow dryer, right? And you can soften it up a good amount to kind of set the head in, and it'll, you know, kick this back some. And then when it cools down, it should be in a position where it's not going to fight you as much. I just noticed that some of his vest is falling apart too. That is not good. I mean, that is ugly. That was right out of the pack. I thought it was just lint or something. But that was happening when I was moving him around. It's because it's pliable. You pinch it and rub it, and the paint just comes off. So be really careful about that. That's terrible. Luckily, I've been practicing, and I might see that arm too. All right, something's up with this one. See that arm? It should be in the socket some. See how this one is in the socket, but this one hangs out like that? Yeah, it wasn't even in all the way. And you know what I'm thinking? You should be able to, if you were real good at what you were doing, you would be able to make a Marty with probably this shirt on. This might be something that they're going to do later. I've seen NECA do that, where they make something that's under a jacket, and then later they come out with a figure utilizing that stuff. Because this, you know, this could just be bare. You don't need this unless they're going to come out with a Marty figure and actually sculpt the arms. I think he had, like, what, rolled up sleeves? But this button down and then a different head. If these sell well, that might have been an option that they were trying to do. Unfortunately, I got to worry about the crooked glasses later, because they use this really stiff, hard metal that doesn't soften up for the glasses. So I'll play around with that later, try to get it straightened out a bit. But that is how he looks. It's a decent job. It's just crooked. It's a really good job. It's just crooked. And so what's up with this head too? Because this head, just, it doesn't sit right in there. Yeah, it instead of clicking in, it kind of just sits there. Anyway, so that's Marty. See, and he looks pretty good. Imagine him with the arms. You can make a Marty. When was it? He came out of his house and he was chilling with his girlfriend, just like that. Anyhow, they would have to finish painting him, I would imagine, right? Anyway, here's the vest, and it looks like it is glued together. Or it's, yeah, it's got a peg and some glue there. See that? I'm not worried about that stuff coming off, because you could just tack that back together. And then some of it is glued here. I'm not going to rip it off, but if you wanted to, just for the vest, I would imagine, you could take that off. It's a shame that they have a little bit of glue here. They should just leave that open and just plug it here. But that's the vest if you wanted to do something with it. I don't know. I'll pop his arms on, but this is interesting. They made him a lot smoother for sitting down, where he's at least able, it looks like, to kind of sit how he was sitting when they were in front of the clock tower, kind of chilling. And there's a different system that I haven't seen before. Usually it's a peg. It is a peg from a female to a male. They utilize it in the horror figures, the Predator figures. I haven't seen this one yet. the double ball, and then the just the way it is, it's slightly changed. I feel like it rolls better too. It just feels better, articulation-wise. And then he's got these in bend at the ankle and good enough articulation to cover up the sculpt, so you can't see the cuts so pronounced. You have a little bit of forward and back with the ankle, and then you do have some rocking, so you can pivot on the ankle. All right, so that was easy. I warmed it up a bit, and then I popped the arm back on. You can see it looks a lot better than before. Maybe it's not all the way, but it looks a lot better than it did before. Maybe I could go in a bit more, but when you lift it up, it's got a good amount of clearance, so I didn't want to mess with it too much. But it looks a lot better than how it was hanging out. Yeah, just be careful with the vest. And here's the his cuffs. Well, I love that attention to detail, man. It's like right from the frickin' screen. He's got these outward expression hands, right and left. And then you can pop on his guitar hands. And then what is this other one? This other one looks like the camcorder hand. It looks like the one hand you use to hold the skateboard. The camera doesn't even look too clean on this. And then his guitar. But when you try to put it on there, it doesn't look too smooth. I might mess around with it later. But one thing NECA frequently does is this articulation joint. They have the hinge, but frequently the hinge is going this way, where it folds inward. Let me move this out of the way so you guys can see. They do this on a ton of their figures, like Ninja Turtles and Predators, where it hinges inward. And it should actually inward and outward. I get it for some of them, but with certain weapons and equipment, it should be hinging this way. So they should be going up and down with it, not like this, you know what I mean? And if they did that, I feel like if the hinge was this way, so you can push the hand back, you would be able to get a cleaner, you would probably get a perfect articulation if this hand would just hinge up and down that way. Yeah, it would probably be very clean, but it doesn't. It only goes this way instead of back towards his head. Yeah, that probably would be really clean. I don't know, man. I wish for some figures they would start doing that. Here he is away from that bright light. Book bag fits perfectly. His ankle articulation is a bit loose, though. It was kind of tricky getting him to stand up. But he looks fantastic. I mean, even with some of the issues, he looks fantastic. Now, I noticed that, missing paint there is covered up by his book bag. I'll probably have him displayed with his book bag anyhow, so that looks pretty freaking good. So here he is without that bright light pounding on him. I think NECA has come a long way when it comes to the articulation and paint for people, not just like monsters and mutants. They still have a little bit more to go, but this figure is fantastic. If you're looking to collect something other than posters, these are the knickknacks of the future, where you can pop these on the wall, on your DVD rack, your movie rack. That's what I'm doing. I got the bug to collect movie figures and characters, and I would love to, because NECA doesn't make the cheap, shiny plastic that some of the Marvel, for example, I'm just not into them. They look like toys that were made for adults as opposed to more collectible. And these look, I don't know, presentable, a little more realistic, a little more, I don't know, man. They got that realistic polish to them. And again, for the price of a toy. So that's Marty Mcfly, though. I forget if I did a little close-up on the hands. They're pretty standard. But that is Marty Mcfly from Back to the Future Part 1. You guys let me know what you think about Marty. I think he's fantastic. Again, I think it's the paint because I've seen the sculpt and the sculpt is amazing. So I think maybe the paint is throwing it off just a hair. Something about it. But you guys let me know what you think. Thoughts and opinions down below. I would love to hear what you think. And next, Marty from Back to the Future Part 2. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at Marty from Back to the Future Part 2. I just cracked open Marty from Part 1. These things are friggin' incredible. Now, when I saw the advertisement for this, I didn't realize some of the stuff that came with it. The hoverboard especially has components to it that I think makes this figure extra cool. So let's crank him out and see what he looks like. All right, so here he is in the tray. I don't know why I keep wanting to call it the bubble something. Here he is in the tray. You got the Future Soda, Future Pepsi. You have an alternate hand. You have this piece here, which the hoverboard can go from a hoverboard accessory to a floating display stand, which that's the part that I think is freaking awesome. There's another piece for the hoverboard. There's the part that makes them stand. And here's that alternate head. What do you think? All right, so before we take a look at Part 2 Marty, I'm just curious if this head, if they're going to make the Martys interchangeable, meaning this head came with Part 2 Back to the Future Marty. Now, if we look at the bottom, it's promising. It's definitely promising. Now, will Part 2 fit on Part 1 Marty? Because it looks like they're using the same sculpt for... Oh, wow, that is tight. That is tight as hell. It looks like they're using the same or similar... No, it is different. Yeah, it's definitely different. That was just me being stupid. He's got a nice cleanup. He's got like a more longer... Maybe I got to warm that up a bit. I'll warm it up a bit and see if it'll fit on. But I thought that would be a beautiful touch because then you can get more options with the figures. The more you buy, you can get additional heads that fit on the figure. Whether it's exactly... screen accurate, you might like a head that fits a little better, and you might like them on this body, this outfit. So that would have been cool. All right, with a little bit of hot air from the hairdryer, the head actually popped on nice and snug. Now the issue is going to take place in the back. The issue is going to be the hair. It is longer, thicker, bulkier in figure form. So even with the Part 1 hair, it butted up against the collar there. Now, depending on how you want him looking, kind of downward, it's going to make him look... Well, actually, you don't have to sacrifice it looking down. You can get a decent... Because the head locks in there for Part 2, you actually get a decent upward look. How does that look neck-wise? What do you think? So there you go, Part 2 head on Part 1 body, if you like that better than Part 1. I think I dig the Part 1 look a touch better. All right, so we'll shift over to Part 2 Marty. We'll just take a look at his... I think they did a neat job with the gloss there, because you know this cheap-looking reflector hat? It's funny how they made the future look. They did a good job trying to relay that to a figure form. It is a little too colorful. Not as much silver, but what are you going to do? Whatever they did here actually stands out real nice. If it was a little more on here, it probably would have worked real well. Yeah, like that type of silver spray there. It represents that hat really good. So you got Marty with a t-shirt underneath, flexible material. I like this jacket in figure form for Marty. That is fantastic. Double jointed. You're going to get what you need. How's that face? Now his hair is going to fight his collar again. His hair is frequently fighting the collar. I wonder if there's a way to do that. Like, would it have looked so bad if the collar came back a little more just to give it clearance? Now you can warm that up some and kind of get that out of your way if you really want to maybe go under the hair. I don't know. It's up to you. But here's his likeness with the hat. Some sloppy paint work around the ear for sure. I don't think this likeness came out. That ear looks... What did they do to that ear? It looks butchered. Wow. That ear needs a touch-up. I dig the hat because it's from the movie, but I feel like this head is going to be the one I dig a little more. Why does that not want to go on? I don't want to fight you. All right. Yeah, I really like this head compared to the other one. They're done well. And you know what's funny? When you go back and look at his likeness, you have this vision of Michael J. Fox, but he's so young. There's times where this fresh likeness does line up decently. And it's funny because you look back and you're like, man, I don't recognize him like that. I don't know. It's weird. So it depends on what the pictures they were using when they were putting the likenesses together, from what expressions he was making. So we got articulation here with the little flap of clothing hanging off. Here's his arm. His pockets hanging out, a little pliable. Actually, they're pretty hard. No, they're part of the bottom here, just sculpted in. I thought they were actual flaps. And then his future shoes. How's the articulation here? It's got a little clearance. And then his leg bends about that much. Goes up that much. Goes back decent amount. What's going on here? We have that same articulation like part one, obviously. I wonder if these are the same pants, just changed a bit. We'll have to look by that. That's very telling. Yeah, so this is Marty from part two. Let's see what he comes with. That's a shame, though. The heads get pushed down so much. All right, we'll see what we can do with that. Here's the Pepsi. Oof. It's too small to focus. And it says Pepsi on it. Little blue top. Looks cool. You get this canister. Looks like a something you would use at a bank. One of those call boxes things. You send your paycheck up in the tube. Zoom. That's probably what they got it from, the idea. So that goes in his hand there. And I'm pretty sure you get an alternate hand for the Pepsi specifically. Is that for Pepsi? That's the only thing he comes with. Yeah, soften that up a bit, and it's probably for the Pepsi. Now, the hoverboard is what really changes it, because you can have it as just the hoverboard. Here's the bottom. Here's the top. Now, this is where it gets really cool, and this was a great idea. You pop that piece off, and then you pop this piece on. Wow. Did you remember how that went? You pop this piece on. I'm pretty sure it went like that, right? And that creates the peg for his foot. And then you take this piece off. Sorry, I'm like doing it all the way at the bottom there. Somehow. All right, you pop that piece off. And then you get this piece that pops in there. And perfect. So this is a floating hoverboard stand for Marty. And then you pop this on. And it articulates, but you got to watch because that board will come off. Just put it in the position you want, rather. Or is that pushing out? Well, yeah, don't push too hard on this. You'll push it out. So how cool is that? You got a hoverboard stand now. And then let's get that other hat on. All right. All right, that's going to take some patience. This will definitely Wait. Now I got it. Is he leaning? Is he falling? Yeah. Yeah, he's falling. All right, so this was a great idea at first. I thought it was freaking genius, but it will take some patience. Obviously, I was going for something like pretty dynamic here, where he was riding it. You could put him 2 feet on the board. You'd probably get better balance. You can get him to do it, but I would imagine you just got to be patient. And this is my work table. I do a lot of work here. So this isn't the best, especially for balance. It looks like he's balancing now. But it really matters how straight you put him, where you put him. You bump something, he's going to go. But I'm sure you can get a way for him to be displayed floating on his hoverboard. Another thing, remember the trick with warming them up. It only takes a few seconds, so don't ruin your figs. But this collar was stiff. However, the type of material they use, it's actually pretty clever how they put some of these together. But you hit this for a few seconds with a hairdryer. I grabbed my daughter's hairdryer, or the old one rather. She got a new one now. And hit this for 5 to 10 seconds, and then boom, it became pliable. So now you can freely move this over it. And then when it cools down, it'll give you the room if it stays put that way. Now you don't have him forcing his head down. You can actually look forward, and you can utilize this trick for both heads. So that's actually pretty cool. Just in case you wanted, let's see what it looks like now. Yeah. And it doesn't look warped or messed up either. Just in case you wanted, I don't know how easy this is going to be to put on, because the last one didn't go on too easy. Yeah, this is really rough. Let's see. Sorry, this one is real rough. But let's see how he looks with this alternate. Now, this is part 1, beginning of the movie, where he's wearing the shades, and then he goes to play the guitar, and he goes boom, flying backwards. That I threw it on just to show you how he would look, because I figured maybe someone would be curious, and I think he looks pretty freaking cool. Again, these glasses are crooked. You'll have to look at that review. I'm going to try to find a way to warm it and then straighten it out. These are hard plastic, though, so I'm not really confident. That's for another day. I don't know. But I like this look, actually. Part 1 head on the part 2 body. Looks pretty freaking cool. Let's put him up next to the part 1 Marty and take a look at Biff in a new video. Here's them with no light blasting on them. I think NECA did a fantastic job. I'm not sold 100% on the look exactly. I'll see how I feel after rewatching Back to the Future. But the paint job around the ears and some of the paint coming off part 1, we talked about that in that video. Those are some of my biggest concerns. One thing I think is awesome and adds value, though, if you're collecting the whole line, each time parts on one are you can alternate it on another one. In my opinion, that adds some definite value. So if we could take the hands off here and pop them on there, and then the head off here and pop it on there, I think that would be pretty damn cool. All right, how the hell is this video so long? That is crazy. Is that really how long I went? All right, I'm shutting up. That is nuts. All right, and yeah, so hands, you can swap them, do whatever you want. All right, bye.